I had mentioned that this was kind of going to be like a journal of sorts, and some days I'm telling stories, and some days, like today, I'm just going to share. Honestly, like I'm having a really, really hard time. There are a lot of things happening. I mean, that have happened in my life that have been really difficult and painful, and being raised in a religion that used fear as the main tactic of controlling the children in that religion, I spent most of my childhood monitoring every single thought and action for fear of displeasing Jehovah, and for fear that, because we were told daily that the world was potentially going to end any minute, and you had to, you know, be right with Jehovah in every single thought and action. And, you know, you want to make sure that you're having thoughts that please Jehovah, because, he can hear, he knows all of your thoughts. And if he decides to, bring Armageddon down upon this earth, and you happen to be, wishing you could have a birthday, or, idolizing some, you know, celebrity, you know, whatever little kids do, wishing they could be, I mean, when I was a little kid, I really wanted to be on SNL, and I wanted to be a fly girl. I wanted to be one of the dancers on In Living Color. And so I was constantly monitoring my thoughts, and trying to adjust them to be in alignment with pleasing Jehovah. And if I had a thought that was out of alignment, I, you know, I would sometimes have these moments of panic, like, I was just thinking this thing that would displease Jehovah, and what if he rains Armageddon down right now and I don't make it, and then I disappoint my parents, and what have I done? And it was just this constant, every day, so many times a day, just this fear that my thoughts were going to displease Jehovah, and I wasn't going to make it to paradise with my parents. And the Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in heaven or hell. I mean, they believe in, an anointed 144,000 are going to ascend to rule over the Jehovah's Witnesses who inherit the paradise earth, but there's no hell. So when you die, you just die. But there was a lot of emphasis on, like, you cease to exist, you just die, and everyone who loves you will forget that you ever even existed. And to a little kid, like, the idea of that, which I realize, like, years of therapy or just lots of meditation and mindfulness, like, I realized, like, I always, whenever I went to a grocery store or a department store or anywhere with my mom, if I would lose sight of her or I would get lost, I would have this panic, because I think it's connected to that feeling of, like, I cease to exist. Like, she's going to completely forget about me, and then what am I going to do? Like, I'm just going to be out here on my own. And I still crowds of people are really hard for me. I have a lot of anxiety in crowds of people or groups of people. Um, and I'm just having one of those days where like I look around and it's like one of the main teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses is that, and you learn this from the moment that, you can walk and talk, that the world that we are living in is Satan's world. And the reason that there's so much corruption and evil in this world is because Satan is running this world. And when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you are taught to live amongst the people of Satan's world who are worldly people. And you are here to try and basically save as many of them as possible by teaching them the quote unquote truth. So there's a lot of pressure there. As a little kid, I took my Bible to school in elementary school, and I always had Watchtower and Awake magazines. And, if I did have a friend who wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, the idea was that they had to come to meetings, which is what Jehovah's Witnesses call church, basically. And that the idea was that there was always an ulterior motive, like I needed to save them. And if I didn't save them, when Armageddon happened, they were going to die. And everyone that I loved and cared for that was not in the truth, the Jehovah's Witness religion, was going to die. So, and I had older siblings who had left, and there was this emphasis on not getting attached and not being a part of. And it really fucks me up a lot and has affected me as a human being in every single aspect because, I genuinely like people, and I want to be a part of things, but there's this barrier that no matter how much work I do and no matter how much mindfulness I practice, I can't get past it. Like I can't be a part of, and it's really lonely. And I think I'm just like really feeling that today. Like I'm feeling really alone and lonely and sad. I'm sad that so many hateful people have as much power as they do. I'm sad for, I'm really sad for trans kids right now. Like, I'm really sad for the queer community and everything. We have to hold so much. We have to hold so much space. And we deal with so much grief around just trying to like exist. And just, most of us just want to be. Like, we just want to live our lives and not, not be told that we don't exist and that we don't have the right to exist. And it's hard for my brain not to believe that this is Satan's world like I was taught, because the people who run it seem so evil and so motivated by hate. And I spent a lot of my life being angry and, learning how to fight. And, I was quick to anger. I had quite a temper as a kid, and even up into, it's still something that was really broken in me, realizing that turning to anger or uh, fighting wasn't it wasn't good for me, and it never had, and definitely wasn't working. Um, but without that, it feels so raw, like, without just being like, "Fuck you," and immediately just getting consumed by the anger. The other side of that is sadness and this knowing that there are so many people in this world who are suffering at the hands of these hateful people who are so self-righteous and like have such a belief that they're doing God's work. And I just